So this is the tricky thing with these variants. When they appear, we can identify them quite quickly by sequencing. The big puzzle is, what does that mean? And the only real clues we have to that is to follow the outbreak and follow that particular variant. And the good news is with Mu is it doesn't seem to have taken over in the way that the Delta variant just spread so rapidly. So probably the best bet at the moment is that Delta is more transmissible than Mu, and so Mu won't dominate in the same way.
So what sort of components have to be there for a variant to become a concern to health authorities?
So I guess there's two really main things. One is, how well is it transmitted? Because a virus which is more rapidly transmitted can obviously spread more quickly. And this is what we've seen time and time again. Countries feel like they've got on top of the situation. They've got a stable situation. A more transmissible variant comes along, and it's so much harder to block the transmission. But the other thing that is a big concern is when you have variation, which means that the vaccines are less effective. And I think that's the bigger worry with Mu, is that we're concerned that the Mu variant is slightly more different than other variants. And so the vaccines may be less effective. So that still has to be seen.
So how long can it take for that to sort of become evident?
So a lot of experiments will be going on at the moment. The good news is that if the virus doesn't spread that particular variant, then it doesn't become important anyway, because even if it is less well protected against, it hasn't taken over. So that's what we're hoping at the moment. But it does take time. The other good news is that we know so much more about vaccines against this family of coronaviruses than we did a year ago. We're actually in a much stronger position, even if we needed a new vaccine.
Yeah, so other than the Delta variant, would it be true to say most of the others kind of just peter out or do not become a major problem for us?
I mean, it's a really straightforward race with all of these things. You know, viral evolution's like anything else. The one that spreads the fastest will always dominate. The tricky side effect, though, this thing about vaccines is difficult, because you can have a variant that's less transmissible but may cause more harm in some populations if the vaccine is less protective. So far, what we're seeing is the vaccine is really good at protecting against severe disease anyway. So even with Delta that spreads in people who've had the vaccine, it still stops them from getting seriously ill, which at the end of the day is what we have to avoid.
Yeah, and that is the, I guess the equation that we're looking at in Australia. Finally, we are moving towards higher vaccination numbers. We've got off to a very slow start, and the conversation now is trying to live with the virus. Is that a feasible option, do you think? I mean, we are seeing countries where Delta is really getting on top of them again.
And this is the concern, and that's the concern I have in the UK, that at the moment we're kind of stable, but the stable state, we're having 100 people dying every day. That's, is that acceptable? That's pretty devastating. So what we continue to try and sort of hang on to is that the vaccinated populations are so much better protected against severe disease. The hospitals are under much less pressure and less people are dying. So maybe that is, the stable endpoint, and maybe that will be okay.
What is the key to the approach? Is it still vaccinations at this point, or do you think there's always going to be a level of restrictions in the way we've lived our lives up until the COVID pandemic hit us?
It's very hard to sort of unravel, and actually have to say what's really strange in the UK right now from my own perspective is lots of things that used to be really normal feel really strange. So it's going to take some adjustment anyway. I think the answer is that people have to continue to be vigilant and continue to take the virus seriously. I think some people have just decided it's all done with, and I think that's wrong, because it's still causing devastation in a lot of communities and a lot of places in the world. But we should hang on to the fact that the success from the vaccination is really quite impressive. So they do work really well.
Yeah, it is the bright spot. Alexander Edwards, thank you so much.
Thank you.